Good morning. I haven't done an update for a while because I've been on holiday to Spain. Took my little action cam with me and to do some filming out there and for the holiday obviously, but I lost it, so I haven't been able to do any updates for a little while, but managed to replace it with a different model, so hopefully we'll be alright from now on. What I want to tell you about today is the tuning on the bike. I had lots of problems, well not really problems, but when I first started to ride it and done a few miles on it, I realised that it was quite flat compared to the other bike. Fortunately I had the other bike to compare it to, otherwise I probably wouldn't have known the difference, but it was flat, so obviously first thing I look at is the carburetor. We checked the jetting and everything that was in the carb, found that the jets seemed to be where I wanted them to be, although the main jet was 200 Mikuni jets, by the way, which I thought was a bit big, so I changed that to 170, which I found to be too small, but as I didn't have anything in between, I put it back to the 200. Also adjusted the needle valve, needle jet needle. On the British ones we have 5 slots where the circlip can go. USA ones evidently have only got 1 slot, so they're a bit buggered, but we can adjust ours. So I dropped that down to the next notch and refitted that. I also put in a larger needle and seat because the fact that I didn't have a fuel pump would let the fuel flow a little bit better. The fuel taps, the standard ones seem to be fine. I mean, they flow a fair amount of fuel really, unless you're really riding around doing flat out throttle a lot of the time. The normal fuel tap seems to be okay. So I changed the needle and seat to the larger flow ones. Got it all back together, went for a test ride, and it wasn't much better, to be honest. Set the idle screw with 3.5 turns out, which is what everyone seems to recommend. Took it apart again, changed the jets back to the 170 after I'd done the needle and seat. I thought I'll try it anyway, but definitely not as good as the 200. 200 could be a little bit rich, but as I haven't got anything else to swap it with, I'll put the 200 back. Still not much difference. So in the end, I looked at other things. Ignition timing was okay, done a compression test, that was okay. The only other thing was the exhaust. So I looked at that. What I found, when I built the exhaust, I put these baffles in and I took them out, and that's all it was. The main problem was the restricted exhaust. It's 1.75" pipe, which is the standard pipe, and I just put these in the end of the pipes before I put the stainless steel tips on. But as it's 1.75" pipe, which is the minimum for that type of engine, putting these in restricted it too much. So I took them out and it made a world of difference, absolute world of difference on the bike. So needless to say, they're not going back in. Took it out for a few more runs, really good. I used to get, well I did get on the first tank full, I got 90 miles to the tank. With the rejetting and taking the baffles out and bits and pieces, on the last run I only got 70 miles. That's fair enough. It's only a 3.5 gallon tank, or 3.5 US gallons, which makes it about 3-ish. Plus the angle of the tank, so you're going to lose a bit there because the fuel tap obviously comes out half out the tank. So if the tank's at an angle, all that fuel in the back of the tank you're not going to use anyway. So I can cope with that, 70 miles on a gallon before reserve. So that's sort of sorted that out really. That's all it was, the baffles.